In the 2021 Disney Plus show WandaVision, audiences were introduced to a villainous witch, Agatha Harkness. At the end of the series, Wanda Maximoff leaves Agatha in Westview, stripped of her powers and her memories. The 2024 follow-up show, Agatha All Along, picks up 3 years later when a mysterious teen frees Agatha from the spell. Together, they will form an unlikely coven of 3 other ostracized witches and head down the Witch's Road, where wishes are granted to those who reach the end. However, the road isn't what it seems, and neither are the witches traveling upon it. So join us down the Witch's Road as we review the spooky, witchy, and delightfully gay Disney Plus series, Agatha All Along. Hello.
And welcome to Once More Unhinged, our spooky weekly chat show where we get together to discuss whatever we're reading, watching, listening to, or engaging with this week. I'm Billy Maximoff.
And I am Agatha Harkness.
Wow.
Agatha All Along.
It was Agatha All Along.
It was me.
Was.
Yeah. Am I the problem? Is it
Am
me?
I the drama?
Am I the drama? Yes, it was.
Ryan,
Hey.
happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
I'm so happy to be back in person in the studio.
It's looking real spooky up in here.
It's very spooky.
Although your candle's not lit, but that's okay.
We could light it.
We could light the black flame candle.
The buff flame candle.
The Buffy flame candle.
We're here to talk about Agatha All Along, which is on Disney Plus. So excited to get into this. Okay. Before we get into our review, want to remind you all, we are going to be discussing all 9 episodes of Agatha All Along. Spoilers abound. So heads up, we're going to get into it all. Okay, Ryan.
Jennifer.
What are your initial thoughts on the series? Overall, what'd you think?
I loved it. I think it's an all-star cast. I love the effects. I love all of the production side of this show. The writing for the majority of this series and this season is phenomenal.
Yeah.
The acting, the casting, all of it.
Yeah.
It's check. It was perfect for spooky season.
It really was.
I love a good witch's, tale. And this was done in a way that it wasn't full of tropes. In fact, it kind of pushed back on some of those. But it was just no notes. Very well done. And if you've never watched any other Marvel series, you can still get into this.
Absolutely.
It's very approachable.
Yeah, it is.
I love this series.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, if you want straight answers, ask a straight lady.
Well, all right. What do you think about the show?
I have to agree with everything you said. This is arguably the best written MCU Disney Plus show so far. I loved WandaVision. The last 2 episodes of WandaVision got a little, fighty kick in the sky. And they fell back onto the Marvel thing. And they do a little bit in Agatha. We'll get into that when we talk about the episodes. But this show was so tight and well written,
great,
and witty and funny and gay. And it just was perfection. I mean, Jack Schaefer was a showrunner, writer. She also did WandaVision, which I think was so valuable to the success of this show because it's a direct, it's the continuation of that story. We met Agatha in WandaVision as Agnes, the nosy neighbor. She knew the kids. She wanted Wanda's chaos magic. And then we're picking right back up. So if you had a different director, a different showrunner, different writer,
it would have felt different for sure.
The tone would have been completely different. And I mean, does it fall back on some of the Marvel stuff? It sure does. But it stands alone in such a unique way that I think it's just brilliant. I really, really enjoyed this series.
I had completely forgotten about Agatha and Agnes from WandaVision.
Yeah.
Lizzie, our gal, did such a phenomenal job as Wanda that, there was so much that I had just forgotten about from the rest of the series.
Yeah.
So when it came back out, when it's being advertised, and I love the cast that was promoted, I thought, okay, cool. This is going to be a fun little Marvel. Like, where's the character? How does she fit in?
Yeah.
And started doing some background on YouTube and TikTok to try to figure out how she fits in the story. And it's like, oh my gosh, yes, she's Agatha from the end of the WandaVision series, right?
Yeah.
So it's really nice to have another female-led cast and it not be so male-centric when it comes to superheroes in the Marvel universe. With WandaVision and now with Agatha All Along, I'm here for it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. You know, there have been other female-led MCU shows and films. We had She-Hulk, which people really didn't like.
She-Hulk.
I liked She-Hulk. Was it perfect? No, but Tatiana Maslany. Yeah, Tatiana Maslany, who played She-Hulk. I thought she was great. We had Miss Marvel, you know, Kamala Khan. She's amazing. We had the Marvel show, you know, we had Echo, Hawkeye, but it's just different. It's the supernatural side of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not super soldier serum, Steve Rogers, or the aliens, or it's witchy.
Yeah.
It's death. You know, the literal embodiment of death is a character in this show. I want more of this. This is what I want more of.
It's got a great vibe. And the first episode starts off where Agatha is basically still in, I guess, a hex. You know, you feel like you're going to get this crime series, right? She's detective.
She's Agnes
town.
of Westview,
which is fantastic. I was here for. I didn't know what to expect from this show.
Yeah,
and we got that first little snippet of this being kind of like a detective series.
Mayor of Easttown.
It was fantastic. I loved it.
Catherine Hahn, just like slow clap for playing Agatha trapped as Agnes, cosplaying as Kate Winslet as Mayor of Easttown. The accent work, the disheveled hair, the always eating. It was so good. But there's little glimpses of, you know, when they go to the woods, they find the body. That body is dressed like Wanda was in the sweats. And then they're asking, like, well, is she really dead? And like, who can say? Which is, you know, wink, wink, nod, nod to Multiverse of Madness. Is Wanda Maximoff really dead? We don't know. Could be. I just loved it. And yeah, we meet Aubrey Plaza as Rio Vidal, who we learn is Death.
Love her. She immediately comes in and commands, you know, every scene that she's in.
Yeah.
But does such a great. This is arguably my best Aubrey Plaza performance.
I would agree,
without a doubt, hands down. She gave it her all, and I think she did so because it seemed like such a comfortable cast with one another. Everyone seemed like they just really matched the same energy. Love Aubrey Plaza. Those first few scenes of the two of them together, where you immediately know that they've got history.
You could just see that there was a vibe
when she walks into her office. When she's
in that suit,
and she's, you know, walking around the office and she's giving Agnes the business. It is fantastic.
So fantastic.
And then she shows up at her house
when they're fighting and she's in the garb and she's like, you know, you can't kill me. And you're like, oh my God, you guys were totally hooking up. Like, what's happening?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Disney.
Cut the tension with a knife.
Are they going to do it? And they did it. Like,
they did it. Bravo, Disney.
Bravo. You know, in a later episode when they're on the road and Rio has shown up, there's a scene where Agatha's walked away and Rio's going to like comfort her and they're going in for a kiss. But Agatha stops when Rio says, you know, that's not your boy. And they give us the kiss in episode 8 where Agatha goes to she, you know, is leaving Billy to be taken by Rio by Death.
Yeah, she decides to sacrifice herself.
And I have thoughts about whether she really did or not.
Yeah. Well, the way that they did it, you know, where she goes out with a bang, you know, the kiss of death.
That's
fantastic.
Well, and I have to shout out this really good theory I read last night on Reddit. That Agatha and Rio were in love, but were never able to like fully consummate their relationship because of Rio being Death.
Sure.
And if she ever did kiss her, like that's the kiss of death.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's going to die. So they finally consummated it just for Agatha to die. And
I think it's great.
It was so beautiful. The scene where she does die and the flowers come up.
That was stunning.
Stunning.
That transition from her falling, even before you got to the mushrooms and the flower.
Yeah.
When they had her falling into the grass and the way that it was displayed, I mean, it was a piece of artwork.
Yeah.
It was phenomenal. And then they go into, the grave with the mushrooms and the flowers, and that whole transition
Yeah.
was one of the most stunning pieces of television that I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Bravo, Disney.
Bravo. We're introduced to another character, Teen, played by Joe Locke, who I have not seen Heartstopper until recently. And as I've been watching Agatha, I have blown through seasons 1 through 3 of Heartstopper. Joe Locke is phenomenal. This is only his second role.
Wow.
First was Heartstopper, then this, and I think he's
Wow.
doing like some theater right now. I think he might be in Sweeney Todd.
Yeah.
He comes to basically he's trying to break Agatha out of this spell because he wants her to take him down the witch's road.
Yeah.
And Agatha is the only witch who's ever survived the road. So they have to form a coven, which they go get a potions witch, Jennifer Kale, played by Sashir Zamata, who is so good.
And beautiful, respectfully.
No, she's amazing.
Stunning.
Yeah, she's stunning. Her, at the end, when it comes out that Agatha was really the one who bound her power.
Oh my gosh. You got to see her really flex her muscles acting wise. And that was just a phenomenal performance.
Yeah.
The way that she processed that in understanding, like you're the one who, and he just immediately snapped to it, grabbed, her hair.
Yeah.
And started, undoing the binding spell. And as she was sitting there saying, basically you have no power over me, or you have no control.
Yeah.
It just got more intense and more intense. I was texting you. I was like, wow. Like this is really heavy.
It's heavy.
And you see her really process this. She starts crying. You can see her tear up. Yeah. And when she does get her powers back, can you imagine having something taken from you for so long that is so special and so meaningful? It's your gift. And to find it again and what that means. And it was phenomenal. You could process all of that. Bravo.
Yeah.
Give her the Emmy nomination.
Please.
One of them. Give the whole cast.
Whole cast deserves it. Yeah. And I mean that's again, Disney, in addition to having a very overt relationship, a same-sex relationship with Rio and Agatha, they show this Black woman, Jen Kale, having been bound by a white woman who sold the curse to a white man. Yeah. Unbinding herself and then the relief and joy at having the power. That's something to say. Yeah. And I love that they did it
for over 100 years.
For over 100. And she, when Jennifer figures it out, the rage and it's just.
Well, and the parallels, like you're speaking about, just the parallels.
It's a lot of layers.
Very layered. Great performance. And again, just to reiterate this, bravo Disney for the same sex storyline.
Yeah.
After being bombarded by the state of Florida for years now with the don't say gay, laws, for Disney to double down and say, okay, cool. Well, we're going to go ahead and stream to the entire world these stories.
Bravo. And it felt right. Like it felt right for the characters. It didn't feel like, hey, we're going to make this a spectacle.
No, it's not window dressing.
Because we also have Teen and his boyfriend, Eddie.
It's respectful.
I loved it. Yeah. So they get Jen, the potions witch. Then they get Lilia Calderou, played by Patty
Legend.
Freaking Lupone.
Legend. Wow. That's
when you just said give, Sashir Zamata the Emmy. They all need Emmys. Patty Lupone is Lilia.
Yeah. I first saw her years ago in the late 80s, early 90s show of Life Goes On.
Yeah.
Where she played the mom in this family, and they have a special needs child, and it was just one of those standout performances then. Of course, she was Avita. She played Norma Desmond on Sunset Boulevard. Just a phenomenal actress. And
American treasure, national treasure.
Absolutely, she is an American treasure. Patty, we love you.
We do love you.
Yeah.
When Lilia is the divination witch, she can read tarot, and throughout the show,
God, it's so well written. This character.
God, that episode. Throughout the show, Lilia has these moments of like flashes where she just spouts off things. She says, the different names of tarot cards. She's obviously having these, what we learn are like time jumps. She's slipping in and out of time.
Right. On the surface, it looks like she's just a clairvoyant.
Yeah.
And she's channeling these messages, but we don't really know what the background is and what that looks like for her until later in the season. I think it's episode 7.
Yes, Death's Hand in Mind.
Where Patty gets her episode and hopefully her Emmy Award.
Right. Yeah. Gosh, that episode is just beautifully directed, shot, all of it.
Yeah. And that's it. All of these episodes stand alone, but continue the thread of this series and the storyline and the message. They keep moving it forward. You never get lost in the sauce.
No.
You never get distracted. You're not on your phone. You are tuned in. And I love the shorter episodes. I love that it's not an hour. I love it. They're like 45.
They're tight. That's what I said. They're
tight episodes.
I love it. Yeah. So they get the Divination Witch, Lilia Calderoo, Potions Witch. They need a Green Witch. They can't find one, so they get poor Mrs. Davis.
Yes,
Sharon
also
Davis,
the mom from
Deborah Jo Rupp from That 70s Show.
That 70s Show.
And she was in WandaVision, and she was one of the townspeople trapped in this hex. Yeah. And I do love this show touches on the trauma of that. Now, like we were texting last night, I've got questions for all the people who chose to stay in Westview, but you know, it's the Sunnydale, California effect. You just keep on living. But, you know, when they have the first trial in the Witch's Road where they're all kind of facing their worst fears, you know, she says at some point, she's like, Wanda, stop. Wanda, no. Like these people were traumatized by what happened to them. Agatha has history with Jen and Lilia. Jen specifically, they're all antagonistic. And Agatha's known as, she's a killer. She's a witch killer. She killed her entire coven.
She is a covenless witch.
Yeah. We saw that in WandaVision where she killed her mother and she killed the rest of the Salem 7.
Yeah. And, you know, everyone has so much fear and respect for her because A, they know that she's lived for a very long time.
She's dangerous. And
B, because she appears to be the only witch who's ever reached the end of the road and survived to tell about it, right? That's what we believe.
Yeah.
So there's so much that is layered here. And Disney, the writers, do such a fantastic job of pulling these layers away episode after episode in a fun, engaging story from each episode to each episode. And we get all of these different trials along the road.
Yeah.
That are just so much fun.
Before they get down to the road, they have to get one more witch. They were supposed to have a protection witch, but she turned them down, except she shows up at the end, right before they start to invoke the Witch's Road. They get Alice Wu Gulliver.
Love her.
Who's played by Ollie On. And her mother, Lorna Wu, was a singer in the 70s, and she sang a version of the Ballad of the Witch's Road. They have their coven. They sing the song. The Salem 7 are pursuing them. There's a big like, are we going to make it? Are we not? A door appears with blue light, which is interesting. At the time, you don't think twice about it. Now it all makes sense why it's blue.
And they didn't either. They just figured, well, hey,
gotta go.
Here we go. This is the Witch's Road. It appeared, but you know, you do have these moments where you look back on it.
Yeah.
And they go back, they flash back later in the season to the moment. And you realize this was just so well written and so well done that there was more going on than meets the eye. But they kept it moving at such a pace that you didn't think twice. But the characters were in character.
Yes.
You know, Agatha, you knew that there was something more going on there, but you couldn't really read her mind.
And that's, again, Catherine Hahn is so good because they show it in the episode where when the door opens, she's kind of like, the fuck?
Exactly.
But it's so quick and there's so much going on that like they're not lingering to where if you lingered so long, you'd be like, well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
It's so good because, you know, as we find out, the road is a creation of Teen, who's Billy Maximoff. Big reveal.
Right. So he has a sigil put on him, and the sigil is basically a protection spell where you can't say his name. He can't reveal who he is for his own protection.
Yeah.
And so there's multiple times where he's trying to tell people who he is, or they're asking who he is. And Agatha immediately picks up on it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want the other witches to know, you know, what's up here, that he's got a sigil on him. It's just a really well done show. I love the special effects of the sigil. I love that it's kind of like a nod to Hocus Pocus with
with Billy Butcher.
With Billy Butcher, and the way that his mouth is, sewn shut. When they go down the witch's road and they start getting to each of the trials, I guess, along the way,
trials.
and we get into those are so fun. I can't remember what the first trial was.
Oh, the first one was
it the Nancy Myers?
It's the Nancy Myers. They're playing off Big Little Lies. What does she say? The tiny little untruths house or something. And it's, it's like a Hamptons house, white everywhere, creamy colors.
They're in their turtlenecks and they're,
all have like the blown out hair.
Yeah, it's very Nancy Myers.
And it's Jen's trial because they're all poisoned and they're seeing their worst fears.
Yeah.
And they have to figure, they have to work together to figure it out. Jen creates a potion. And in that, I love that trial because we get glimpses of things that will pay off.
Yeah.
Lilia sees her maestra, like skeletal, and Agatha sees a cradle that's empty.
And we don't know what these things are.
We don't know.
They're great little clues that the writers and the production team are leaving us along the way, along this road.
We do that trial, but unfortunately, nobody gives Sharon, Mrs. Hart. I love it. Who? Agatha, even at the end, when Teen's like, and Mrs. Davis, and Agatha goes to Agatha's like, who? She dies because they don't give her the antidote. That's the first death.
R.I.P.
We go to the second trial, which was my favorite, the Fleetwood Mac recording studio.
Love the recording studio.
So good. Stuff. They have to sing the Ballad of the Witch's Road.
And boy, do they ever.
They nail it. Okay. They kill Alice, the Wu family, their curse. And next trial is Agatha's trial. And this is where the spool really does start to unravel. Yeah. Agatha's mother shows up as a ghost.
Oh my God, this was dark.
And she says, like, I should have killed you the moment you came from my body. You were born evil. And Agatha's like, I can be good, begging them, don't leave me with her. And her mother tries to kill her. And Alice, the protection witch, tries to save her. And Agatha sucks all her power out. And Alice dies.
Yeah.
And it's dark.
It is dark. And that's the thing about this series. Even though this is a Disney series, there are moments and elements of this entire series that get really dark. So I like that it's a nice blend of adult content without it being like overdone.
And at that episode where Alice is killed, Teen reveals himself to be Billy Maximoff, son of Wanda Maximoff and Vision. He's got the blue crown. He has magic.
Okay, so this is where
that was great.
This is when we got into the part of the season that was like, okay, cool. So I need some Marvel background. Like I need to understand exactly what this means, who he is, and
right? Because I thought those kids disappeared at the end of WandaVision.
I'd completely forgotten about the kids. I had no idea that they were going to come back and play like an instrumental part in this franchise and the series. But I love it. And hey, I really like his effects. I like his costuming, the blue tiara, the crown, whatever you're calling it.
Well, and that was such a good needle drop with the end of that episode. So you should see me in a crown. Yeah, it was so good.
Just perfect.
Joe Locke, I'm telling you, I want to see this kid in everything. Yeah, You've got to watch Heartstopper. So I have to ask you.
Here we go. You love to put me on the spot.
This one's not too bad of a spot.
Okay.
So since you don't have a lot of Marvel background, did you?
I have enough.
Did you? So when it came to Teen, did you think maybe this is Billy Maximoff? Did you think maybe it was Agatha's long lost son, or were you just kind of like something's going on?
Well, immediately I didn't know who he was when he showed up and was like rifling through her house.
Yeah.
And then, she's interrogating him. And when he starts talking,
that scene is so good.
I guess casting a spell or using whatever incantations that he was using, I was like, okay, cool. So we know he has magic. The question is, where does that come from?
Yeah.
I did get spoiled on TikTok by going down a rabbit hole and someone saying his name was Billy, but I didn't know who Billy was. But I thought he was fantastic. Just a great actor. Really enjoyed his energy, and it was great to have that sort of dynamic when you have all of these women, and then you've got this young male character, but he's not like egocentric. He's very feminine in a number of ways, and just very easygoing. He's so respectful to Agatha. He's so helpful to her, and so you kind of wonder, can he be trusted? who is he?
Right.
So it was, to answer your question, I really didn't know who he was.
So, because the moment he showed up, I was in like spin mode.
Yeah.
Is this going to be like one of Wanda's twins? Is it Nicholas Scratch? Is it Mephisto? And those of you know what I'm saying?
Well, it wasn't, well,
like,
listen,
that was a big thing on
whatever you do on your own
WandaVision. Mephisto is a comic character that people were so convinced was going to show up in WandaVision. So when they confirmed that he was Billy, I was so excited. And I loved how they explained it.
Well, they lead you to believe that it's possible that he could be Agatha's son,
which is Nicholas Scratch.
And we don't know exactly what the background to that was until the very last episode.
Yeah, we just know she had a son.
But we knew that she had a son, and it was rumored from the other witches that she gave up her son in order to attain the dark power that she had, the dark hold. Well, ends up that wasn't how it all worked out.
Which I love how they did that. We'll get there. I love the William Kaplan, Billy Maximoff story, because sometimes in a season where you have to do flashback episodes, they don't always land.
You know how I am with non-linear timelines.
Well, it took you a minute with episode 7.
It really did.
Yeah. But in episode 6, we get Billy's backstory, and I loved it. We meet young William Kaplan, the only child of his parents. It's his bar mitzvah.
Oh, I love that.
He has a magic themed bar mitzvah where Lilia is reading some tea leaves and tarot, and I love the connection we get there. We see Lilia. There's also him or maybe
she tells him that there is a split in his lifeline.
Yeah,
and that could mean one of like 2 or 3 things, and one of them she's like concerned about, and the other one she's like, it could just be start something new in your life or what have you.
Well, I think she's trying to make him feel better, because he sees how scared she gets, and she's like, the tower reversed.
That's right.
And you
she
see
puts the sigil on him
in the crystal ball the reflection of teen dressed as he is when we meet him, but in the bar mitzvah he's wearing his like suit and his yarmulke and stuff.
Do you think she put the sigil on him in an effort to protect him, because had what occurred, the circumstances that end up occurring in his life, had he been able to talk and tell people who he was, people would have been like, hold on a second, you're not who you say you are.
Well, she says in the episode 7, I wanted to give you time.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah, so she was protecting him. And she slips the sigil into his jacket pocket, and we see it works immediately, because once it's in, she's like, I love how it works. I didn't know that.
Who is this? She goes and says, like, some kid left his jacket in my tent. After he, leaves, he gets into a car accident, and William Kaplan dies as Wanda's hex is dismantling the soul. In the comics, they call it a soul shard.
Okay.
Yeah. Soul shard of Billy Maximoff takes over William Kaplan's body, and then we get 3 years later team. And speaking again of the like queer storylines, Billy in the comics as Wiccan is gay.
Okay.
And he's in a relationship with Hulkling.
Okay.
Right. There's the Young Avengers of it all. Right. And they include his boyfriend Eddie. He can read Eddie's mind. When Billy and Eddie go to meet Ralph Boner, I was in stitches.
Ralph Boner.
Because
like a Simpsons episode.
Well, that was a big thing with WandaVision, because they had Evan Peters. This is so like meta, and there's so much going on. He shows up in WandaVision as Pietro, Wanda's brother, or a version of Wanda's brother.
All right.
Turns out he's not really Pietro.
Dun, dun, dun.
He's Ralph Boner, a member of the town who has been, he's hexed by Wanda. But everyone was like, wait a second. This is the multiverse. We're getting another version of Pietro. Nope. It was Ralph Boner. We got bonered. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Once more contains adult content.
Ding. Ding. So I love seeing Evan Peters as Ralph Boner with the he's got the little stuff in his hat. And he's shaking the bones, and he's all like scared of witches because he was traumatized. And he meets up with Billy and tells Billy kind of what happened about Wanda.
That's who that guy was.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice to know.
He's like, are you Mr. Billy, are you Mr. Bonerific? Eddie's like, we've not done this where there's a little bit more light, a little bit more coffee. Like, so good. Eddie's great.
Like Eddie.
Yeah. And that's how, Billy learns about Agatha Harkness. And it's just so good. They kept everything so tight and well paced. It's great. It's a great show. And, I mean, as Rio says, the bodies pile up. We lose Sharon, we lose Alice, Lilia dies, or does she?
Rio comes back and forth throughout the series. So she comes in the first couple of episodes, and then you wonder,
where's Rio?
Friend or foe?
Yeah.
That she's got some beef with Agatha, but we don't know whether or not it's personal, or we don't know whether she is, I didn't know.
Have a history.
I figured there was going to be some sort of a love dynamic going on here between these two.
Yeah.
And Rio ultimately, giving way to Agatha because she's obsessed and loves her so much, but it doesn't quite go that way. But we do see her reappear, and we do know that there is further beef because when they're on the road, and they summon another witch because they need an earth witch, right?
A green witch,
and then she arrives and
she's
says, "I'm the green witch."
Yeah.
Which is she both? Is she the green witch and death?
They kind of explain it in the end. Yeah, I mean, green witch and death, as Jen says, it's like decay and rebirth.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
cool. Yeah, and so she pops in and she pops out along the road, and she's just that character on the side where you're like, she can't be trusted.
Yeah,
something going on here.
She's so good.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, and after Lilia sacrifices herself, I loved being a witch. So good. We could do a whole episode just on episode 7,
we
Death's
really
Hand in Mine. Yeah. Maybe we will. Who could say? Probably not, but who could say? Okay. All right. So we've gone on and on about how much we love the show, the casting, the characters. I want to talk about the last 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. Do you think they landed the plane?
Ooh. Yes.
Or the broomstick. Do you think
they there? Okay. We talked about this last night. So I loved the last 2 episodes. Start over. They could have ended the series at episode 8.
When Agatha dies.
They could have left it with the kiss of death, her falling to the ground, her being absorbed in, the whole process, that beautiful scene.
So beautiful.
With Billy. And you jovially pointed out that it's really funny that Billy walks back to his car, gets in, and just rolls on down the street when he could have flown away and whatever else. Point of order that I made, which was Agatha took so much of his magic that I doubt he could barely walk, because he looked very gaunt after she was done, receiving the magic from him.
We were texting each other. I was like, is she gonna do this right now? Because I
was worried.
He looked like Alice.
She does that. I mean, she does it with every other witch that she's ever met.
She sucks their power and kills them.
That's how she.
Sorry.
Cheers. That's how she maintains or that's how she retained her power, and now she's looking to get that back.
Yeah.
That was such a beautiful episode of television. Mm-hmm. You are left with the 3 of these individuals. They're working down this road by themselves, plus Rio. It gets very dark. It gets a little twisted. You have that wonderful moment of the same-sex kiss. You have this magical interpretation of what death would look like for someone like Agatha, who I thought it was a wonderful tribute to her as a character, to her performance, to have that sort of a death scene written for you and acted out. Come on, that's Shakespearean. It was absolutely beautiful. They could have ended it there. Billy goes home with the Kaplans. Maybe there's some other loose ends that they could have polished up, but we get the next episode, which is episode 9. And this is really more of the full background of Agatha and the road.
Yeah.
And watching it last night, I was, right?
Yeah.
Confused and just not really buying some of what they were trying to twist and sell. As I've sat with that, and as I've seen some TikToks, I'm less upset about the last episode today than I was last night, now that I've had some time to sit with it.
I agree.
But I do think that it seemed like it got wrapped up really quick at the end. And I wonder why they released both of these episodes together back to back instead of kind of releasing that episode 8 and then next week releasing episode 9, or starting the series a week earlier so it would coincide with Halloween and the whole spooky season of it all. So to answer your question, yes and no. Loved episode 8. I'm on the fence about episode 9. But I do love this series. I love the writing, and I don't like Agatha as a ghost. We've talked about this last night. We talked about it with a mutual friend of ours today, Callie Kondo.
Shout out.
Shout out. So there were just some issues with episode 9 that just felt completely distinctive compared to the rest of the series. And,
Yeah.
and I take umbrage with that.
I love that.
But I think overall, Disney landed the plane. May have been a rough landing.
A little turbulence.
Yeah. They didn't completely crash the plane, but they did land it. And they set us up for an episode or for a second season, which I think will really help kind of tie any loose ends that we have available. Although I wonder how they're going to do that with Agatha being a ghost.
So,
okay, come on. Let's hear it. What are your thoughts on the last 2 episodes?
I really loved episode 8. I loved seeing Jen get her power. I loved the showdown.
And her skedaddling away. Just flying
I guess we don't see that till episode 9 when Agatha says, well, think about it, do the math. You actually saved a life. Then we see Jen getting, flying away. Okay. But episode 8, I loved, Agatha facing Rio after helping Billy figure out where she got Tommy a body. And that scene was so poignant because Jen disappears. The moment Jen gets her powers back, she's out of the basement. Yeah. Then Agatha sits Billy down because she's like, just give me your power, like blast me. He's like, no, then you'll take it all and then I'll be stuck here.
He doesn't trust her.
No, rightfully so. And so she sits him down and she walks him through his last minutes as Billy, and they find a body for Tommy. It's a boy who's basically being drowned. Yeah. And he says, am I killing a boy so my brother can live? And Agatha says, no. Billy disappears and she says, sometimes boys just die.
She says, sometimes and that was so little beautiful. Boys die.
So beautiful.
That line comes back to haunt us in episode 9.
Yeah. And I liked the kiss. I liked Rio losing her shit, saying, I'm thinking death by 1,000 cuts, burst the glass.
Which is like my biggest fear. Paper cuts.
It's the Achilles thing when her
the Achilles heel.
Woo! So
that got very rough and very dark very quickly. And bravo, Aubrey Plaza again.
And Catherine Hahn.
For nailing those scenes together. And I love when Billy flies back in.
And his full geesh, looking good.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. And I'm like, I just love in the MCU, they're like, now they're in their super suit. Don't ask questions.
It was just a great episode. And they could have just
and he flies in.
They could have ended it there, maybe like a soft little like ending where he's back with his parents and you get like a little wink, nod of like Wanda or something. I don't know, but it didn't go there. Then we got the full backstory for Agatha, which I think is fair for the viewers because we kind of wanted to know what's the deal with the road? What's the deal with her son? Yeah. How does this all fit?
Right.
And we get the explanation.
And that's where I'm like, where I'm with you. It's a little bumpy. Because I want to make it super clear. I love the fact that they do not.
They could have flipped the episodes.
Well,
episode 9 could have been episode 8 and episode 8 could have been episode 9. And I would have been fine with that. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I agree. They could have restructured it. I like that they don't fully reform Agatha.
Okay.
But I also don't like that there's still no real, I didn't walk away being like, oh, I kind of understand her better. I'm still like, wait, so her son died of natural causes and she's just this remorseless killer. Yeah. Her mother earlier said, I should have killed you the moment you left my body. Why? They give us little hints like Agatha's a succubus, like she sucks their powers or whatever. I'm assuming she created her son after she killed her coven. I still don't feel like I understand Agatha enough, and maybe we're not supposed to, but I'm like, wait, because all throughout the season, she shows concern for Teen. Remember when he's hurt in the
well, I think she wonders if perhaps maybe that is her son.
No, I think but that's what I don't like, because I feel like in the last episode she basically says, I knew it was you. Oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like she knew it was Billy Maximoff. And I guess they kind of give us the like he reminds her of her son, but she's so concerned, and Catherine Hahn shows these moments of softness.
Oh, she really does.
And I like
this whole performance.
I like a character who is traumatized and leans into the anger and the pain and does shitty things, because that's real life.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what she does in episode 9. She is She's heartbroken. She's grieving. She knew this was going to happen. She didn't know when it was going to happen.
Because Rio told her, all I can give you is time.
Right. In exchange for the lives that she's taking.
Yeah.
But someone had pointed out on the interwebs that the day that she doesn't take another witch's life,
he dies,
is the day that he dies.
Yeah.
And that was his own request. It was like, can we not kill a witch today? Can we not take another witch's power?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, sure. So we'll sing the road song, and and God, that whole death scene
was sad.
Was really sad, but again, very respectfully done.
I like that they show Rio,
there wasn't a big battle or tug of war or anything like that.
She tells Nikki to come with her, but before he does, she's like points to Agatha, like to go tell her goodbye.
Yeah.
And then we see, the way the camera's shot, it's on the ground where Agatha and Nikki are laying. Yeah. And you see Agatha like look down, but you don't see Nikki, you don't see him dead at all. And she realizes what's happened.
Yeah.
And I like that they didn't do anything crazy with that story. Like she traded her son for the Darkhold.
Exactly, which is what they led you to believe.
Or Rio forced her to do something.
We got a logical explanation, a human explanation, the human condition of losing someone that you love.
Yeah.
And what would you do to undo that? Or what would you do? How would you act out? What does that look like? And for her, it was like immediate. I'm going to start taking all these witches' powers. Fuck this shit. I'm going to make this my jam.
My jam.
Yeah. And because of it, she's going to avoid death, or if and when she ever does encounter death again, she's going to be more powerful than she was the first time.
My thing is too, I don't feel like they properly explained it, and maybe I need to rewatch. And if you're listening and watching and let me know.
Yeah. Send us some comments.
Agatha says to Rio, if I do this, you stop pursuing me.
That's it.
And when I die, I don't want to see your face. Why is Rio pursuing her? Mm-hmm. Rio got Nicholas.
Again, I think you pointed it out earlier in this discussion that Rio has got a thing for her.
It's so interesting. I feel like I like that the road was a con that Agatha created, and there's a rumor that she's the only one who survives and she uses it to kill people.
Yeah.
Although I do have
well done.
Do have some questions.
That's good writing.
These witches are so easily provoked. I'm like, could you just walk away?
We did ask the question of, has no one caught on to the con yet? Like after 2 centuries?
Everyone's really believing like shit. People go look for the road and they just disappear. I'd start asking some questions.
And there's only one person on that road with them.
There's no detective witch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or there was no witch strong enough to be like, oh, hold on a second.
And I want to know if there is a season 2, and if Billy finds out this whole backstory, is he still going to be chill with her? Because it's not just that she killed her coven that was going to execute her, the Salem 7. Mm-hmm. She willingly and gleefully led these other witches to their deaths.
Sure. And she was getting ready to do it again.
She admits it,
which I think is,
she's like, I was going to kill them all in my basement.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, that she knew early on who he was, and I think she had every intention of taking his powers, but he had the sigil on him.
Yeah.
And so I don't think that she could. He was protected by the sigil.
Well, the sigil wouldn't protect his powers. It would just protect people from knowing who he was. But how did she know? That's some of the stuff where you're like, you built this up, and then at the end, I'm like, And as you pointed out, I don't like Ghost Agatha.
I don't.
I wish they would have just kept Catherine Hahn as Catherine Hahn.
Casper Agatha. Yeah.
And kept her maybe in her like purple witchy garb.
It was almost like when she was talking to that, you could tell that they shot these out of not together, like not in the same scene. So,
you think?
Yeah, because, it just something was off about her.
And it's directly from the comics. Agatha Harkness dies and in the comics becomes a ghost, and she's got the white hair.
Well, then I'm okay with that. If it's canon.
It is, but that part I'm fine with. But it could have been Catherine Hahn as Catherine Hahn, and then maybe when Billy tries to touch her, he goes through her and she's like, oh yeah, I'm a ghost. That
would have been great.
I don't need the Casper, the woo. I don't need that.
Yeah, it was just strange. And she just didn't even seem like herself. And it's like, I can imagine that Ghost Agatha would be one that I do not want to fuck with.
And yeah, I don't like all right, one door opens. Another closes.
Listen,
or what? One door closes.
When we got where one door closes, another one opens line at the end, I'm like, okay, did a Disney executive, and I mean, we've been giving you props for how the show's gone so far.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like someone who was not a principal writer ended up stepping in at the end and just being like, oh, here's some scribbled notes. We're going to do this instead. Yeah. I don't know that to be the case. And excuse me if I'm insulting one of the prolific writers that did a great job on the rest of the series. But I did not need that one door open, another door closes line.
And then the let's go get Tommy. I'm like, now you care?
What? Now you care?
You're a murderer.
Wait,
you had a son.
Tommy's
I don't
alive?
know.
How's that all going to work out? What about the kid who died, who's all of a sudden back, and his parents are going to be like, wait, that's our son?
Well, no, they covered their ass on that because
Okay.
basically he doesn't have any family or no one loves him or something.
Oh, well, that's very convenient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really did love Wiccan getting in his little Subaru and driving back to the Kaplans.
Would have been perfect.
So great.
Right off into the sunset.
But I mean, I have to say, probably my second favorite MCU show after WandaVision.
Oh, you're putting this behind WandaVision.
I just have such a...
I guess that Buffy poster in episode
we didn't even talk about
nothing for you.
Yes, it did a lot for me. In Billy's room, it's episode... Yeah, you see it in episode 8 and 9.
Billy's room.
It's a Once More with Feeling Buffy poster. Thank you for that, everyone.
So good. Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yes.
Wizard of Oz. You start seeing all of these posters around his room.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing things that you've
The
seen
figurines,
around the road.
the colors.
And it all starts coming together because you and I were kind of noodling while we're watching this unfold. And I'm like, was he on some sort of a trip?
Is it magic related?
Is this all a dream? Is this magic related? And it does end up unfolding that this is of Billy's doing. And this is where I really want to dig in with people in the comments and with you to really understand, okay, what happened exactly?
I got you.
All right, go ahead. Break it down for us.
So in WandaVision, at the end, when Agatha reveals herself, they have the whole conversation. Wanda's hex was a manifestation from her mind, her subconscious mind,
of her grief
and her trauma. She did not realize she was doing it.
Right. She's so
Same
powerful.
thing with Billy. His mind created this because he wanted it so badly.
His brother.
He wanted his brother, but he didn't actively do it. They're twins. Okay. And, you know, he's been on this 3-year life in a body that's not his. And he has this moment to be like, who am I? It's the manifestation of his own grief and his trauma. You know, in the comics, Agatha does become kind of a mentor to Scarlet Witch, I think, or Wiccan. I can't remember. That's his superhero name is Wiccan.
So he does all of the research and background on Agatha, and that in turn, you know, he's got this book that he's writing, his spell book. Yeah. So all of this has been put into his mind that he then creates into reality somehow. When they gathered together for the road, he's like, hey, you know, like, in order for you to get your dark powers back, in order for me to get my brother back, we got to go down the road. She knows the road not to be true. She knows
just going
it's a con, but she's like, sure, she knows who he is. She says she knows who he is. So maybe she's got the idea that she's going to take his powers at some point.
I think that's what she's trying to do.
She's like, hey, let's go get some other witches. She knows the con. She knows, let's get them all in the same room. I'm going to suck their powers. Yeah. Except for the neighbor who's not a witch.
I think she didn't know until the door appeared.
She was like, and then she's like, holy
really
fuck, this is not supposed to be cool. She saw the blue light. Does she even know that Billy's got a blue light?
No, but I think she just knows there's only one kind of witch who can do this kind of chaosy magic, and it's got to
be her son.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
I mean, like
that's
you
okay
said,
then.
It is.
Someone like me, I kind of need someone to like, spoon feed it to me.
But there's so much lore, and
there's so much, and it's the Marvel where it's like anything can happen, anything's possible.
Are you dead?
Are you dead? Who's to know?
I love it. It's a great show.
Great show.
I love the little nods to people like me who love Buffy, people like us who love Dolly Parton. When Teen's doing his research, we learned that
so glad you mentioned
Agatha Harkness was Jolene. It's so good.
I love your video too.
Thank you.
Jolene, Agatha.
I love.
Please don't hex my name. So great.
We need that version stat. Great show.
Congratulations to the entire cast and crew for a phenomenal production. Well done, Disney, for
being brave,
standing by your morals and doing something that was very beneficial to so many people,
especially in this
the current
current time. So
okay, way to go! Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween!
You gonna watch any spooky stuff tonight, Jenny?
Oh, probably not.
Y'all gonna watch The Great Pumpkin?
Maybe. Yeah. We're going to go, take the kiddos trick-or-treating with some of their friends. And
it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, I want to watch it. Thank you for listening and watching to Once More Unhinged. These episodes come out on Wednesdays, and be sure to check out our episodes of Once More Rewatch Podcast, which come out every Friday. But we're on a break.
That's right.
Yeah, we are in the process of restructuring the pod, how everything looks. We'll be back with Buffy season 3 shortly, soon. Stay tuned.
Yeah. For more Unhinged content, be sure to follow us on social media. We are at Once More Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, TikTok, and Spotify and YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Billy Maximoff.
And I am Agatha Harkness.
Bye.
And Ryan something. Bye.
Check out. Bye.